everybody! Today I'm showing you how to make a retro easy bake oven. Now when I was a little girl, I didn't have one. I'm a little sad, so I made it out of cake. And I remember making other little retro mini cakes. I made a TV for my brother, so I thought this is a lot of fun. It'll taste great, and I'm gonna show you how to do it. I'm Elisa Strauss, and we're mixing it up in the kitchen today. To build my mini cake, I'm going to start with just cutting out a 4" by 4" square board. And I have 2 full layers of 4" square cake, and then these 2 little pieces that are also going to make up a 4" square. So I'm going to take my first layer, then as usual I'm going to just fill my cakes, and I like to use a pastry tip so that it's nice and level and even and I don't have to go back and smooth it out. So I'm going to smooth this out and stick it in the freezer just so it can harden up for about 10-15 minutes. So now that my cake has chilled for a little bit, I'm going to just use a serrated knife and start by trimming up the edges. Now this is a fairly easy shape because it's a square, so I'm going to use that base that I cut out of the cardboard as a guide. Now that my cake's nice and trimmed, I'm ready to coat it with some buttercream. So I just plop some on there. This part is really important because we want the shape of the cake to be as square as possible, especially when you're making something like an appliance. So I rolled out my Fondant brand fondant in my teal color. So I'm going to just pick it up and lay it over my cake. Okay, so I always worry about the top first, get out any air bubbles, and then I quickly go around it and pull out the cake. You just want to pull the fondant against the cake just like that. And if you get to any pleats, you just want to make sure you pull them out. And if covering a cake like this scares you, you could always cut out the pieces, right? So you want to make a perfect block. You can cut out 4 by 4" squares for every side. Don't forget the top, and that's a good way to do it too. But this is faster. So once I have it all covered, I'm going to cut away the excess and ball it up and save it for our next step. And now's the part where we're going to really make it look like an oven. We're going to take our fingers and pinch the top edge to make it look super square. And then you're going to use your fondant smoother and just rub it out. Here I have rolled out a 4" square piece of the same colored fondant because I want to lay it right onto my cake. But before I do that, I want to cut out a little window for the oven. You want it about in the center, but slightly below that. So I just mark where 2" is, and then I come down a little, and then I can go back up because it's going to be cut out, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And then what you can do is place this right onto the cake, but to make your life easier, you can actually put the black of the window of the oven behind it beforehand. So let me show you. So I'm going to just use the little piece I took out just as a template, and I'm going to cut the black slightly larger. I'll put a little bit of the gum glue, and I'm going to take the black, I'm going to lay it over that area, and now I can go ahead, put some more gum glue, and I'm going to attach it to the cake. So I want to line up the bottom, and then I'm going to use my ruler, and I want to make kind of like a broiler drawer, and I want to make the top area where all the knobs are going to go. So now I'm going to take the leftover teal color, and what I'm going to do is make the little, control center of the oven at the top. So to do that, I'm going to roll the log from thick to thin. I'm going to use some gum glue along the back and just place that right down. So just to create the vent holes, I'm going to press in with my scalpel at even distance, and then I'm going to make just like a box where all the controls are gonna go. It doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, we're replicating a toy, Although from what I understand, these people, kids who have easybake ovens, take it very seriously. I think especially if the little sister steals the older sister's cookies. I'm just saying. So all that's done, we can move on to our stovetop. So to do the stovetop, remember we put this nice little detail in the back, and I have some thicker white gum paste rolled out and some thinner white gum paste. For the stovetop, we're going to make sure I have 4 inches, and then we just want it 3 inches wide. Yep. And so while I have the white gum paste out, I roll a little of the excess gum paste into a log, and so this is going to be for our little handle down here. It's just 2.5 inches. And out of the thin gum paste, I just used some pastry tips to cut out knobs that are going to sit up here, the larger ones, and I have 4 that are going to sit at the control panel down there. So I'm just going to cut 1 more. And so I let all of these things dry, and we're going to paint them with luster dust afterwards. So for the stove burners, I just used some thicker rolled out gum paste, and I'm using the back of a pastry tip just to cut out 4 circles that will be on the surface of our stovetop. So I put them on. I don't use any glue because they pretty much stick by themselves, and I want to have the flexibility of moving them around until I have them just where I want them. So once I have them on, I'm just going to use a series of tips to create the coils of the stove burner. So out of some thicker black gum paste, I cut out 4 of the little knobs that are going to sit on our control panel. I'm going to go ahead and cut out 2 larger knobs, and this will be the center for the clock. And then 2 little last details, I want to just cut 4 little knobs, again using one of the smaller tips. And I want my handle of the oven door to sit on 2 little squares. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and paint this panel, the control panel, to look like real wood. To do that, I'm going to use a little bit of brown gel mixed with some vodka. So for the wood effect, you just want to start with some streaks, and you're going to do some dark ones, some lighter ones, and the lighter ones come with the vodka mix. The same way that I painted the gel with vodka, I'm going to use lemon extract with luster dust. So I go ahead and coat all the knob backs, the handle, and the clock. So I'm going to start with the control panel up here. I put the clock right in the center, and now I'm going to grab the rest of my buttons, put some up here on the right, add the buttons on the control panel. We'll do 1 on each end first. So for our final detail is the oven handle. So I've now painted it with the luster, but we have to wrap it in the black. So I'm going to just take a little bit of the gum glue, and this black gum paste is rolled super thin just to wrap around. And it should stick. If for some reason you're having trouble, meaning like your door handle is too heavy or your gum glue is too thin, then you can always try a little bit of royal icing. So that's how it's done. We made our little oven with just using a few little tips and tricks. And remember, all the tools and ingredients are listed down below, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our weekly shows. I'm Elisa Strauss, and we're mixing it up in the kitchen today.